Welcome, everyone. Ready for a deep dive into sexual health?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
We're going to be talking all things sexual health with the amazing Dr. Rena Malik as our guide.
A great guide for sure.
Yeah, so she had this awesome interview on YouTube with The Diary of a CEO.
I saw that one. So interesting.
And we're going to break down some of her best insights.
Yeah.
Get ready to bust some myths.
Oh, yeah. We're going to cover some stuff that might even shock you.
I was definitely surprised.
For sure.
Like, did you know the average sex duration is way shorter than most people think?
Yeah, that's a big one.
And we're going to tackle the connection between ejaculation and prostate cancer.
Oh, and don't forget about how our phones could be messing with our sperm count.
Right, so much to unpack.
So much.
So let's dive in, shall we?
Sounds good to me.
Right off the bat, Dr. Malik's definition of sexual health really resonated with me.
Yeah, it's a much broader view than what we usually hear.
It's about so much more than just the physical.
Exactly. She emphasizes pleasure, satisfaction, and that overall feeling of well-being.
Yeah, it's about feeling good about yourself and your relationships.
Feeling whole.
Yes. And it made me think about the media's influence on our ideas about sex.
Definitely plays a big role.
All those unrealistic portrayals
Yeah.
can really create anxiety and shame, especially for young people.
It's like we're constantly bombarded with these idealized images.
In movies, TV shows, and especially pornography.
Yeah. It sets up these completely unrealistic expectations.
And when real life doesn't match the fantasy,
it can lead to feeling inadequate.
or even like something's wrong with you.
Exactly.
Now, this next topic really caught my attention, the pelvic floor.
Oh, yeah. The pelvic floor is so crucial.
I'll admit I didn't know much about it before this interview.
It's a group of muscles that supports bladder control, bowel function, and even a healthy back.
Wow, I had no idea.
And guess what?
Right.
It's incredibly important for sexual function, too, for both men and women.
So how does sitting at a desk all day affect these muscles?
Well, like any muscle, they need to be exercised to stay strong.
Right, makes sense.
And prolonged sitting can actually weaken them.
Oh, so that's why it's important to stand up and move around.
Exactly. Dr. Malik points out that many people don't even realize they have a weak pelvic floor until they experience issues like incontinence or pain during sex.
It's a good reminder to get up and stretch more often.
Absolutely.
Okay, now for the myth busting. This is where things get really juicy.
I know, I love this part.
Dr. Malik debunks so many common misconceptions about sex.
Like that one about other couples having way more sex than you.
Yeah, that always makes me feel like I'm doing something wrong.
Well, you're not alone. But the truth is, the average for partnered relationships is about once a week.
Really? Just once a week?
Yep, and she emphasizes that quality is far more important than quantity.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
It's not about keeping up with the Joneses. It's about enjoying the connection with your partner.
Makes total sense.
Now, this next myth is one we really need to dismantle.
Which one is that?
That sex is supposed to hurt. Oh, I've heard that one too, and it's so damaging.
It's completely false. If you're experiencing pain, it's a sign something is wrong.
It could be related to not enough lubrication or not enough foreplay.
Right, and Dr. Malik encourages open communication with your partner and seeking help if needed.
Whether it's from a doctor or a pelvic floor therapist.
Exactly. No one should have to suffer in silence.
Now, another myth I hear all the time is that men always want sex and women don't.
Oh, that's such a harmful stereotype.
Dr. Malik really sets the record straight on that one.
She explains that desire is so much more complex than that.
There are different types of desire,
Some people feel desire spontaneously.
and others experience responsive desire, where interest is sparked by certain triggers or situations.
Right, and both are totally normal.
So assuming all men are always ready to go and women aren't, is just setting everyone up for frustration.
Totally agree.
It all comes back to communication.
Communication is key.
Speaking of things that can cause issues, what about the myth that masturbation decreases testosterone?
Ah, that old chestnut. There's actually no strong evidence to support that claim.
So it's okay to enjoy myself without worrying.
Exactly. Masturbation is a normal and healthy part of human sexuality.
Good to know. But what about the myth that it causes prostate cancer?
That one's a doozy. Actually, frequent ejaculation, like 21 or more times per month, is linked to a lower risk of prostate cancer.
Wait, really?
Yep. While the reasons aren't totally clear, it's thought that regular ejaculation helps to flush out fluids from the prostate.
So it might actually be protective.
Potentially. I love how science is always debunking these old wives' tales.
Me too. So what did Dr. Malik say about boosting libido naturally?
She highlighted some key things: prioritizing sleep, engaging in regular resistance exercise, and adopting a Mediterranean-style diet.
Makes sense. Those are all good for your overall health, too.
Exactly. They can have a positive impact on testosterone levels.
Okay, this next topic really hit home for me. Declining testosterone levels in men.
It's a complex issue, and it seems like our modern lifestyles are playing a part.
We're more sedentary than ever before.
And we're constantly exposed to endocrine-disrupting chemicals.
In plastics, pesticides, all sorts of things.
Right. And these chemicals can interfere with our hormone balance.
Leading to lower testosterone.
Potentially, yes.
Wow, that's concerning. So is there anything we can do to minimize exposure?
Dr. Malik suggests making simple changes, like choosing glass or stainless steel over plastic.
Okay, so being more mindful of the products I use.
Exactly. And opting for natural cleaning and personal care items.
Got it. Anything else that stood out to you about that?
She also mentioned a potential link between heat from laptops and smartphones and lower sperm count.
Wait, seriously? Just from having my phone in my pocket?
Well, keeping those devices close to the testicles for long periods might be contributing to the problem.
So maybe it's time to ditch the skinny jeans.
Or at least find a new place to carry your phone.
Good advice.
Now let's dive into the world of pornography. Dr. Malik had some thought-provoking things to say about this topic.
Yeah, it's always a controversial one.
She acknowledges that there are potential negative impacts, especially for young people.
Their brains are still developing, so it makes sense that exposure to such stimulating content could be harmful.
Right. It can shape unrealistic expectations and potentially lead to difficulties in forming healthy relationships.
So what's the solution?
Dr. Malik stresses the importance of open and honest conversations with young people about pornography.
So education rather than censorship.
Exactly. It's about helping them develop critical thinking skills and understand that what they see in pornography isn't always a reflection of healthy or realistic intimacy.
And what about adults? Is there a place for pornography in a healthy adult life?
Dr. Malik acknowledges that it can be a form of entertainment and exploration for adults.
But she also cautions that it's important to be aware of the potential downsides.
For some people, it can become compulsive or even addictive, interfering with real-life relationships and the ability to experience pleasure with a partner.
So it's all about finding a healthy balance.
Exactly. It's also crucial to remember that pornography often presents a very distorted view of sex and relationships.
It's not a guidebook for intimacy or a blueprint for realistic expectations.
Now, buckle up for this next one, the potential for virtual reality to become intertwined with sex and relationships. Dr. Malik makes some fascinating predictions about this.
That does sound pretty futuristic.
She explores both the potential benefits and the potential concerns.
Like what?
Well, VR could be used for therapeutic purposes.
Oh, wow. How so?
Imagine being able to work through past trauma or anxiety in a virtual setting where you feel safe and empowered.
That's amazing. So VR could be a powerful tool for healing.
Potentially, yes. But on the other hand, there's a valid concern that VR could become so immersive that it starts to replace real-life intimacy.
I can see how that could happen.
It raises some big questions about the nature of connection and the potential for technology to isolate us from real-world experiences.
It's a lot to think about.
It is.
Dr. Malik also emphasizes the importance of seeking professional help when it comes to sexual health challenges.
Absolutely. There are experts who can help address a wide range of issues.
Like who?
She specifically mentioned sex therapists and pelvic floor physical therapists.
So it's important to remember that we're not alone in these challenges.
Exactly. And seeking help is a sign of strength, not weakness.
I love that perspective. It shows a commitment to your well-being.
And a willingness to improve your sexual health and the quality of your relationships.
Well, this has been quite a deep dive so far.
It has.
We've covered so much ground, from debunking myths to exploring the potential impact of technology on our intimate lives.
It's incredible how much there is to learn about our bodies and how they work.
And I love how Dr. Malik encourages us to take charge of our sexual health and well-being.
I agree. It's very empowering. What stood out to you the most?
You know, for me, it was Dr. Malik's emphasis on the importance of choosing the right partner.
That's a big one.
She made a powerful point about how our partners can profoundly influence our emotional and sexual well-being.
Absolutely. It's crucial to choose wisely.
It's a reminder to be selective and prioritize healthy relationships that support our growth and happiness.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, choosing the right partner can really make or break your
It
happiness.
impacts everything, right?
That's for sure, including our sexual health.
And speaking of relationships, Dr. Malik had some really interesting things to say about communication.
Yeah, communication is huge E
She really stresses the importance of being open and honest with our partners.
about everything, our desires, our fears, any challenges we're facing.
It's about creating that safe space where both people feel comfortable.
Yeah, judgment-free.
But, sometimes those conversations are tough.
Oh, they can be so awkward.
It's so easy to avoid them.
Way easier to just make assumptions, right?
But it seems like those tough conversations are really important for intimacy.
It's where the magic happens.
And Dr. Malik even suggests scheduling time for intimacy,
I know it sounds a little weird.
like scheduling a business meeting.
Right.
But think of it as prioritizing connection.
It takes the pressure off.
And then you can both be more present and focused on each other.
Yeah, and Dr. Malik's also a big advocate for using lube.
Which is great because sometimes it feels like a taboo topic.
For sure. But she's right. It can make a huge difference in terms of comfort and pleasure.
For both partners.
Exactly. And it can help prevent pain.
Which can lead to a more enjoyable experience for everyone.
Okay, so you mentioned earlier the thing about phones in your pocket.
Yeah, that one really stuck with me.
I get it. It's kind of freaky.
So is there really any scientific basis for that?
Mhm.
Like, can heat from our phones actually affect sperm?
Okay, so remember we talked about how the testicles need to be cooler to produce sperm effectively,
Yeah, like they need their own climate control system.
right? And so more research is needed, but
Much.
some studies are showing that prolonged exposure to heat from devices like laptops and phones might negatively impact sperm count.
And motility, right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
So it's like we're carrying around a tiny sauna for our sperm.
Aha! Maybe not a sauna, but yeah.
Maybe it's time to start carrying my phone in my purse.
Or at least not in your front pocket.
Okay, let's go back to the pornography discussion for a minute.
Yeah, that's an important one.
So Dr. Malik had a really nuanced perspective on this.
She highlighted the concern about young people being exposed to porn.
Especially when their brains are still developing.
Right, it can be really damaging,
It can shape unrealistic expectations about sex and relationships.
which can make it harder to form healthy relationships later on.
So it seems like there's a difference between mature adults choosing to watch porn.
And young people being exposed to it when they're not ready.
Right. And Dr. Malik emphasizes the need for open conversations about it.
Yeah, education and communication are so important.
So instead of censorship or shame, it's about giving young people accurate information.
To help them make healthy choices.
Now, Dr. Malik also acknowledged that porn can be a form of entertainment,
For adults who choose to watch it,
but she cautions about the potential downsides.
like it becoming compulsive or interfering with real-life relationships.
So it's about being mindful of your consumption.
And remembering that porn often presents a distorted view of sex and relationships.
Right. It's not real life.
It's not a guidebook for intimacy.
Okay, now let's talk about something that feels straight out of science fiction.
Oh, you mean the virtual reality stuff?
Yeah, Dr. Malik talked about VR becoming more integrated into our sex lives.
It sounds crazy, but it's probably closer than we think.
And she talked about both the potential benefits and concerns.
Yeah, there are two sides to the coin with everything.
So what are some of the potential benefits?
Oh, VR could be used for therapeutic purposes,
Oh, wow. Like how?
like helping people overcome sexual trauma or explore their sexuality in a safe environment.
So it could be a powerful tool for healing and growth.
Exactly.
But I can also see the potential downsides.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, could VR become so immersive that it starts to replace real-life intimacy?
That's the big question, right? Is it a supplement or a replacement?
And it raises all sorts of questions about the nature of connection.
And the potential for technology to isolate us from real-world experiences.
It's definitely something we need to be mindful of as technology continues to evolve
It's all about finding that balance.
between the virtual world and the real world.
And remembering that technology should enhance our lives, not diminish them.
Oh, true.
Now, Dr. Malik also brought up this fascinating link between ejaculation and prostate cancer.
Yeah, that was interesting.
She talked about a study that found men who ejaculated 21 or more times a month were less likely to develop prostate cancer.
Seriously. 21 times a month.
That's what the study found.
I guess orgasms are good for you.
Well, more research is needed, but it's definitely an interesting finding.
It seems like frequent ejaculation might help flesh out harmful substances from the prostate.
Potentially.
So maybe we should all be having more sex.
Well, I'll leave that up to you.
Okay, let's shift gears for a minute and talk about pelvic floor health.
Oh, this is so important.
I'm learning so much about it.
It's crucial for everyone, men and women,
It impacts everything from bladder control to sexual pleasure.
and overall well-being.
Right, it's not just about sex.
And the good news is that there are things we can do to strengthen our pelvic floor.
Like what?
Dr. Malik recommends incorporating pelvic floor exercises into our daily routine.
I've heard of Kegels.
Those are one type, but there are others too.
Is it like just squeezing those muscles down there?
Yeah, like you're trying to stop the flow of urine.
Okay, so it's a lifting and squeezing motion.
Exactly. You want to hold the contraction for a few seconds and then release.
And how often should you do these exercises?
Dr. Malik suggests starting with a few repetitions each day and gradually increasing it.
So it's like any other muscle, you need to work it out.
Exactly. And if you're having any issues with your pelvic floor,
Like incontinence or pain during sex?
right, then Dr. Malik recommends seeing a pelvic floor physical therapist.
So it's like physical therapy for your pelvic floor muscles.
Exactly. They can teach you how to strengthen and retrain those muscles.
Wow, I had no idea that was even a thing.
It's becoming more and more common.
I'm definitely going to look into that.
Good for you.
Now, Dr. Malik also highlighted the importance of lifestyle changes.
To address sexual health challenges.
Like what kinds of changes?
Things like prioritizing sleep, managing stress, and engaging in regular exercise.
Especially resistance training, right?
All of those things can have a positive impact on hormone levels.
And energy and overall well-being.
Exactly. And those are all essential for a healthy sex life.
So it's not just about popping a pill
It's about making sustainable lifestyle changes.
that support your overall health and well-being.
Exactly.
I really appreciate that holistic approach.
Me too. It's so refreshing.
One thing that stood out to me was Dr. Malik's emphasis on communication in relationships.
Yeah, communication is key.
She encourages open and honest conversations about our desires.
And our fears and any challenges we're facing,
It's about creating that safe space.
where both partners feel comfortable expressing themselves,
She also talked about seeking professional help when needed.
which is so important.
It's a sign of strength, not weakness.
Absolutely. It shows that you're committed to your well-being.
And willing to put in the work to improve your sexual health and relationships.
Exactly.
This whole interview really highlighted the importance of taking charge of our sexual health.
We have more power than we think.
It's not something to be ashamed of.
It's a vital part of our overall well-being.
And there's no shame in asking for help or seeking information.
I completely agree.
So what are some of your biggest takeaways from this conversation?
For me, one of the most important things was Dr. Malik's emphasis on the interconnectedness of our physical, emotional, and sexual health.
They're all connected, right?
Exactly. You can't separate them.
And she really highlighted the importance of a holistic approach to well-being.
Prioritizing sleep, managing stress, exercising, eating a healthy diet.
All of those things contribute to a healthy and satisfying sex life.
And she also really stressed the power of choosing the right partner.
That was a big one for me, too.
Someone who aligns with your values, respects your needs, and makes you feel safe and loved.
It's about finding someone who brings out the best in you.
Absolutely. And creating a life together filled with joy, laughter, and deep connection.
That's beautifully said.
Okay, now for a topic that often gets swept under the rug.
What's that?
The impact of the media and pornography on our perceptions of sex.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one, especially for young people.
It can be really hard to filter out those unrealistic portrayals.
And Dr. Malik really stressed the need for comprehensive sex education
Yeah, we need to be giving young people accurate information
about healthy sexuality, relationships, and consent.
so they can navigate those complexities in a responsible and informed way.
And she also talked about the need for more open and honest conversations about these topics.
To break down the stigma and create a culture where people feel comfortable discussing their needs.
And seeking help when they need it.
Absolutely. It's about empowering people to take charge of their sexual health and well-being.
Now, we can't forget about the fascinating predictions Dr. Malik made about the future of sex.
Oh, yeah, the whole virtual reality thing.
It's both exciting and a little bit scary to think about.
Right. Like, how will technology continue to shape our intimate lives?
What will the future hold for human connection in an increasingly digital world?
It's definitely something to ponder.
And now for a statistic that really surprised me.
You mean about the average duration of sex?
Yeah, 5 minutes. Seriously.
It's shorter than many people think.
It's way shorter than what you see in movies,
Exactly. And it can create a lot of pressure for men.
who might feel like they need to perform for some arbitrary length of time.
But what matters most is that both partners are enjoying themselves.
It's about the quality of the connection, not the quantity of time.
Exactly. And Dr. Malik encourages open communication with partners.
to figure out what feels good for both of you.
As
Dr. Malik also addressed a topic that's often shrouded in mystery: female ejaculation.
It's a fascinating and complex topic.
I learned so much about the different types of fluids that can be released during sexual activity.
And how squirting isn't the same as urinating.
It's important to remember that female sexual response is diverse.
And there's no one right way to experience pleasure.
Now, we have to talk about a question that I know a lot of guys are curious about.
You mean penis size?
Yep, that's the one.
It's a common concern for men,
And Dr. Malik debunks some common myths about it.
like the myth that penis size is correlated with hand size or foot size.
Yeah, that one's definitely false.
And she also addressed the question of whether it's possible to increase penis size.
What did she say about that?
She talked about traction devices, which are essentially weights that are attached to the penis to stretch the tissue over time.
So like a penis gym.
You could say that.
And do those actually work?
Well, there's some evidence to suggest that they can lead to a modest increase in length.
But it takes a lot of time and effort.
Right. It requires consistent use over several months.
And it's not guaranteed to work for everyone.
Exactly.
I think it's great that she addressed these concerns openly and honestly,
It's important for men to have accurate information.
and to feel comfortable talking about these things.
Absolutely. It's all part of promoting body positivity and self-acceptance.
And speaking of body image, Dr. Malik also discussed the increasing popularity of labioplasty.
That's a surgical procedure that alters the appearance of the labia.
I've heard of it, but I don't really know what it entails,
Essentially, it involves reducing the size or reshaping the labia minora.
which are the inner lips of the vulva.
Right.
So why are so many women choosing to have this procedure,
Well, some women opt for it to address physical discomfort.
like chafing or pain during intercourse?
Right, but Dr. Malik also acknowledged that societal pressures and exposure to pornography are likely contributing to the rising popularity.
Because porn often portrays a very specific and unrealistic ideal of female genitalia.
Exactly. It's like the penis size issue, but for women.
Right, it's all about challenging those unrealistic beauty standards.
And embracing the diversity of bodies.
I love that she's encouraging women to feel confident and comfortable in their own skin.
No matter what society might dictate.
Okay, so let's talk about aging and sex, because it's something we don't always talk about openly.
It's an important topic, though.
What did Dr. Malik say about maintaining sexual health as we age?
Well, she emphasized the importance of staying active, managing stress, and prioritizing sleep.
Those are all things that are good for us at any age,
Exactly, and they can help maintain hormone balance and energy levels.
which are essential for a healthy sex life.
Right, and she also talked about the role of testosterone.
I thought testosterone was just a male hormone.
It's actually important for women, too.
Really?
Yeah, testosterone plays a role in female sexual desire and arousal as well.
So if a woman is experiencing low libido, it could be a hormone issue?
Potentially, yeah.
That's interesting.
And Dr. Malik pointed out that there are natural ways to boost testosterone.
Like those lifestyle changes we talked about earlier.
Exactly. Exercise, sleep, stress management.
It's all connected.
It really is.
You know, one of the things I really appreciated about this interview was Dr. Malik's emphasis on communication.
Communication is crucial for healthy relationships.
She encouraged us to be open and honest with our partners.
About everything, our desires, our needs, our fears, our challenges.
It's about creating that safe space where we can truly be ourselves.
And work together to create a sexually satisfying and connected relationship.
I love that.
And she also reminded us that there are resources available if we need help.
Like therapists and pelvic floor physical therapists?
Exactly. We don't have to navigate these challenges alone.
It's a sign of strength to ask for help.
I completely agree.
This whole deep dive has been so eye-opening.
It really has.
I feel like I've learned so much about sexual health and relationships.
It's a journey, isn't it?
It is, and I'm grateful to Dr. Malik for sharing her expertise with us.
Me too. She's a wealth of knowledge.
So as we wrap up this part of the deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought-provoking question.
Okay, hit me with it.
In an age of rapidly evolving technology and shifting societal norms,
Things are changing so fast.
how do you envision the future of intimacy and relationships?
That's a big question,
It is.
but it's an important one to consider.
What are your hopes and concerns about the ways in which technology might shape our experiences of love, connection, and sexual expression?
That's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, it really is a lot to think about.
So many possibilities and potential pitfalls.
Definitely makes you wonder, like, are we heading towards a future where virtual experiences,
Become more alluring than real-life relationships.
yeah, will we choose the perfectly curated virtual world over the messiness of real human connection?
It's something we need to be mindful of, for sure.
I think it all comes back to intentionality,
Being intentional about how we use technology.
making sure it's enhancing our lives rather than detracting from them.
Exactly. And having those open and honest conversations about the potential impact of technology.
Yeah, exploring those ethical implications, setting boundaries to protect ourselves.
Because technology itself isn't good or bad. It's all about how we use it.
It's like a tool, right? It can be used for good or for evil.
A hammer can build a house, or it can hurt someone.
It all depends on the intentions and actions of the user.
And even with all these advancements in technology, I believe that our basic human need for connection
For touch, for intimacy,
will never go away.
there's something so powerful about those real-life experiences.
Sharing a meal with loved ones, holding hands with a partner.
Just looking into someone's eyes
Yeah.
and feeling truly seen and understood.
Yeah, those moments are irreplaceable.
And I think it's important to prioritize those real-life connections.
To nurture our relationships and cherish those moments of human intimacy.
Well, this deep dive has been quite the journey.
It has.
So many insights about sexual health, relationships, and the role of technology.
Dr. Malik really gave us a lot to think about.
I hope our listeners feel empowered to continue exploring these topics
To have those open conversations with their partners.
and to prioritize their own sexual well-being,
And remember, there are resources available if you need help.
whether it's a therapist, a doctor, or a pelvic floor physical therapist.
Don't hesitate to reach out.
There's no shame in seeking support.
It's actually a sign of strength.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Likewise. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll be back soon with another insightful exploration.
Until then, take care of yourselves.